The AL East is one of the most competitive divisions in baseball, if not the most competitive division in baseball in 2022. Four of the five teams are over 500, and the Red Sox, who finished in last place, were still 78 and 86, only four wins away from having a winning record. So it is one of the most, if not the most competitive division in baseball, and it has been a very competitive division for almost a decade now. So John and I, we're going to discuss the state of the AL East. Why is it so competitive? Why has it continued to be so competitive over the years? And how competitive could it be in 2023? We're going to discuss it right here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derek. I'm here with John, and let's get straight into it. First things first, when we get into this, I actually looked this up. The AL East hasn't been won by more than with a lead more than 10 games or more since 2014. So from 2015 on, the AL East has at least been somewhat close every single year, and most years it's been at least a three-team battle for the division. Most years. A couple two-team battles in there, but mostly three-team battles. What does that say about the AL East, the competitiveness of it over the years? It's gone from teams Baltimore and this team, Baltimore and Toronto being good, and then Baltimore and Toronto kind of got worse. The Red Sox got good. The Yankees were good. And then the Rays kind of came up for a couple of years, really good 2020, 2021. Then the Yankees won it last year, but they still only won it by 7 games. But what does it say about just the consistency of competitiveness in the division?
I think what I would start with is Yankees fans and Red Sox fans. Like, we are the elite baseball fans of the world. Mets fans too. Phillies fans maybe a step behind us. But the baseball world revolves around Boston and New York. Like, everything we dominate between our two teams. We dominate the AL East. And everybody else is doing what they can to stay competitive with us. Now, you're going to have years, like you said, Rays have been consistently good and have won that division. Baltimore and Toronto both have had up and down years where they've been competitive, then they kind of fall off, and then they retool and come back. But it's all to stay competitive with the Yankees and Red Sox. And even this year, I think you said Red Sox, 79 wins, right?
78.
78 wins. If the Red Sox played in the AL Central, they would have won that division by probably 5 or 6 games. They would have had a much better record, and they would have, without a doubt in my mind, they would have won that division. If they had played in the AL West, I know Seattle was really good this year.
They had a really rough start, though.
Yes, that's true. And you have to think, if the Red Sox are playing the A's, the Rangers, and the Angels, all season long, that's another division that even if they didn't pass the Astros, they're probably a wild card team. And the Red Sox finished in last in the AL East this year. We are just, the Yankees and Red Sox dominate baseball. And because of that, all these other teams have to figure out ways to keep up. And I'm sure you can talk about this more. I mean, just look at what Tampa has to do in order to keep pace with us.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays, you look at a team like the Rays, right? And you see it with Baltimore, and they're both lower spending. Even Baltimore is lower spending. And even the Blue Jays, to an extent, they don't spend like the Red Sox and the Yankees, but they are definitely spending more. But especially the Rays, and it's just like the amount of talent that the Rays have is so good, but they also have such a low budget where they have to trade this talent away after like 4 years of having them. But they manage to stay competitive. The Orioles, they had their good years in the mid 2010s. They had to undergo the big, massive rebuild, and they're starting to come back, and they have a very, very promising young core. The Yankees have probably been the most consistent team in the AL East. I know they haven't won a World Series in the last 8, 9, 10 years, but consistency. I mean, you can't really complain. Obviously, not winning a World Series with that consistency is a little bit of a downside of it, but you get as many shots at winning one as I think anyone else in the AL East has. I think more than anyone else. You look at the Red Sox. They've been up and down very much the last 10 years, but when they're good, and they're competing, and even they're and you look at that stretch from 2016 to 2018, they won the division 3 years in a row. Even in 2018, they won 108 games. They didn't run away with the division. The Yankees still won 100 games that year. So it's not. So this is a division where I feel like, you have that team that ends up winning the division that does win it by a little bit, but all the other teams that are chasing down that team only are so much better, I feel like, than the second and third place teams in other divisions. That's just how it feels.
Absolutely. And like I think I love it that you touched on the fact like the Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. And that's ages. Like Yankees fans are going crazy. I mean, there's teams that haven't won. The Pirates haven't won a World Series since 1979. Haven't been competitive since like 1991. The Mets haven't won a World Series since 1986. Like there's all these other fan bases. The Reds, last time they won a World Series, 1991. Like Yankee fans, we like it's bizarre almost that we can look at 2009 and be so upset that we haven't won a World Series. By contrast, Red Sox just won a World Series in 2018. This past weekend at the NHL Winter Classic at Fenway Park, John Henry got booed. I mean, this is the owner that has owned the Red Sox through 4 World Series championships after their 86-year drought. And now he's getting booed by Boston fans because the team hasn't been competitive in a couple of years. And with our two fan bases being that rabid for winning, it just brings up everybody else.
Even Toronto. I forgot what the original question was. Look at Toronto, though. But like, look at Toronto. Their fan base goes crazy. Like we've seen in the playoffs before. Baltimore, like they can, like when the fans show up, like they have like a legit fan base. Even Tampa, people like to crap on Tampa and them not getting a crowd. And because I live in Florida, I always say this: it's not because they don't have fans. They have fans. Their just stadium is like the worst located stadium ever.
And the worst stadium ever.
No, the Trop isn't terrible. It's the location of it. There's no one there. Like, is it definitely a bottom tier MLB stadium? Yeah, but I mean, for considering the fact that you're in Florida, hey, I'd rather be indoors than be outdoors. That's for sure. But they have fans. Like, you went to the playoff series in 2019 when they were playing the Astros in the ALDS stadium. The Trop was pretty much packed. Like, there was a lot of fans there. I was sitting in the outfield, couldn't find an empty seat in the outfield. They can pull fans. So it's like these fan bases, all 5 teams have legit fan bases that are passionate about their teams. And all 5 teams, and especially heading into 2023, you're looking at this, especially with a balanced schedule now, and you're going, could we have a division that all 5 teams are over 500 or 500 over? It sounds so crazy, but if there's any division to do it, it's going to be the AL East.
Oh, unquestionably. And like that, I'm not actually a fan of this kind of more balanced schedule because I want to see AL East teams playing each other because our rivalries are so good. Like, yes, we all know the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry, but Yankees have a rivalry with Tampa. Red Sox have a rivalry with Tampa. Like, when I was growing up in the early 90s, I mean, Red Sox and Blue Jays went at it, man. Those teams hated each other. Probably still terrible, long-lasting feelings. And honestly, like, Doug, I apologize, but I still have beef with the Baltimore Orioles from like 1996, 1997. Like, they tried to sign away David Cohn from us. I took that very personally. But like the Yankees-Orioles rivalry in the mid to late 90s, that was an intense rivalry. And I think that's just another thing that makes the AL East special. Because, like, yes, there's rivalries in other divisions, but none of those feel like as intense as our divisions. And, you can have a year where Baltimore might lose 90 games, but when they play the Yankees, they're going to play the Yankees tough every single time. Like, there's been years where like the Yankees missed out on higher seeding in the playoffs because they couldn't beat the Orioles, who had lost 90 games, but the Orioles were still showing up for those games. Like, AL East is something just special, and that I love it. It's what baseball should be.
Yeah, well, also too, even like rivalry-wise, like Baltimore, Toronto had their little rivalry for a couple years. 2014, 15, 16. Like, they had a little bit of stuff going on, and you look at divisions like the AL Central, and it's just like that division, just like Detroit and Kansas City. They're rebuilding teams. They're both definitely would be probably put in the rebuilding stage. They're in different stages of rebuilding, but they're still rebuilding. And then you have the teams like the Twins, the White Sox, and the Twins and the White Sox, who are going to be around 500. And then Cleveland kind of surprised everyone last year. But you look at that division heading into 2023, and you're like what's the max for that division? It feels like every year we're talking about the AL Central, because if every year it's the Astros and the ALCS and an AL East team. It's 2017 Astros Yankees, 2018 Astros Red Sox, 2019 2020. Well, the 2020 was the only year wasn't Red Sox or Yankees. 2020 was the Rays, but that's still an AL East team. The Central is nowhere to be found in the ALCS. The last time an AL Central team made it to the ALCS was Cleveland in 2016 when they went to the World Series.
Wow.
Like,
and it must have been a couple years before that they had one, I mean,
yeah, they had the Royals for 2 years in a row. Then they had Cleveland in 2016, and then it's just been nothing from the AL Central.
Yeah, I mean, well, Minnesota can't win a playoff series, unfortunately, for those fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just the cream of the crop. And like I said, I think like the East Coast is really so baseball heavy to begin with, because I do have to give a shout out to those Mets fans. Like, Mets fans are in a very emotionally abusive relationship with their team. It's starting to turn around, so they deserve it if the Mets can turn it around. But that's one passionate fan base that truly shows up every year when they probably shouldn't. And so I just have to throw it out there. I think it's really an East Coast thing, and that stretch from New York, Boston, New York, Philly, DC, Baltimore, like, we got some pretty intense fans. And like you said, Toronto up there, man, like, they are, when they show up, man, they're intense. I've heard that's a really tough place to show up as a visiting fan.
Oh yeah, that 100%. Like, they go crazy in Toronto. I feel like it's a thing with Toronto. As soon as their teams get into the playoffs, this is not a dig at Toronto. It feels like when their teams get into the playoffs, not the Maple Leafs, a non-Maple Leafs team, they actually believe in the team. This is not a dig. It's supposed to be trying to be a dig at the Maple Leafs, but everyone shows up there and it's like, this is the year. We're all here. We're gonna ride. And this also too, you say it's East Coast thing. You look at the NL East heading into 2023. You get that three-headed monster of the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies. Like, it's crazy. And like, I feel like there's an East and West Coast thing brewing right now in the big leagues. Look at the AL East and 5 teams. You legitimately could be over 500 in that division. Like, you could legitimately look and say, I can see a world where each of these teams finish 500. Maybe not all 5 at once, but definitely you could see the Red Sox finishing over 500. Baltimore, Tampa, Toronto, New York. In the AL West, Houston, Seattle, even the Angels, if they can stay healthy and be consistent. You never know. Texas has brought in some guys. Oakland's whatever, but this legitimately out of the AL East and West, that's 9 out of 10 teams that you could say, maybe they could make the playoffs. And you look at the NL and you look at the NL East and you got Atlanta, the Mets, the Phillies. That's 3 teams. You look at the West, you got the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. Last year were 500. The D-backs are still on the up and up, and the Rockies are the Rockies. But you look at the NL Central is like the Cardinals kind of underwhelmed recently. The Brewers have underwhelmed recently in the playoffs. The playoff in the MLB has been dominated by East and West Coast. I think, the 2017 World Series was the Astros and the Dodgers. I know the Astros are in Texas, but they're in the AL West. The 2018 World Series, the Red Sox and the Dodgers. 2019, the Nationals and the Astros. 2020 was the Rays and the Dodgers. 21 was, oh God, I might forget who was the Astros and Braves. Yeah. West and East. 2022 was, oh my God, I'm already drawing a blank on this. Jeez Louise. Astros and the
Braves. Phillies, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's been all AL. It's all been East and West division teams in the World Series since 2016. It was Cleveland and the Cubs, 2 Central teams in 2016. Since then, there has not been a Central team in the World Series.
And just to touch on the 2016 World Series, first off, 2016 World Series, I don't really like Cleveland or the Cleveland baseball team, whatever you're supposed to call them going back, or the Cubs. I don't like either of those teams. That was a horrible World Series for me because I want to see them both lose. However, I think Central fans, the Midwesterners, you're too nice. You don't hate your teams. And that's the problem. You have to be able to ride your team. Like, the fact that John Henry got booed in Fenway Park. I don't believe Hal Steinbrenner deserves to get booed. I don't believe John Henry deserds to get booed.
John Henry will get booed everywhere right now. He get booed in Boston and Liverpool. Like, he's getting booed everywhere.
And yes. But all in all, he won 4 World Series for the Red Sox. Should buy him a little bit of a leash, but it doesn't because we're so intense. Hal Steinbrenner is one of the best owners in baseball, best owners in sports. I have all the respect for Hal Steinbrenner. Lets the baseball people run the baseball operations and stays out of it. Very much unlike his father. He gets booed at Yankee Stadium. Doesn't deserve it, but does. Our fan bases are just so passionate that these teams have to be good. Otherwise, we're going to turn on them. And you don't want to play in New York and Boston when your home fan base turns on you. Like, both of our fan bases are vicious when our team is not living up to expectations. And I think that helps really spur these teams into competitiveness every year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like both the Red Sox and Yankees. A guy signs a big deal with the team and has a bad first week with the team, and people are calling for that guy's head. Like Dustin Pedroia, he wrote a book and he said about how his book came out a long time ago, but it was like his rookie year, first month he was hitting like a sub 200, and people were like, it felt like people were calling for his head. And it's just like, and then he turned it around and won Rookie of the Year. But it's just like, and that fuels some guys, but it also shows just these fans are passionate. Red Sox and Yankees especially, but all throughout the MLB, especially on the East Coast and the West Coast, you're seeing a lot of passionate fan bases. Like Seattle, for example, haven't been to playoffs and whatever, and they are a passionate fan base, and they want to win. And they haven't won in a long time. I think, especially too, when you haven't won in a long time. I know the Yankees they won in 2009, but it's still, for the Yankees, it is a little long. The Red Sox, they have won 4, but a lot of Red Sox fans will say, well, why are we finishing in last place so many times in between the championships, which is somewhat fair. Although you could argue, you win a World Series, you get a little bit of a leash, but it is a fair argument. But they also have teams like Toronto where they just want to win, and they haven't won since the 90s. And teams like Baltimore haven't won since the 80s. And the Rays have never won a World Series. So it's these you have a fan bases that just want to win. And regardless of how many fans are going to pull out a stadium, they're going to have passionate fans there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just you just hit the nail on the head. I can't even head on to that.
All right. Final thoughts. If we're looking at the AL East heading into 2023, jeez Louise. I can already forget it's already 2023. Heading into 2023, well, I'll ask you this. How many AL East teams finish over 500?
Since we're playing the balanced schedule and we're not going to be beating up on each other, all 5 finish over 500. I think it's very possible all 5 finish over 500. If the Baltimore can continue doing what they did last year, which I think they will. So I think at a minimum 4 teams finish over 500, but I think in all likelihood all 5 are going to finish over 500 this year.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I could definitely see a world. The only way I don't see a world that you don't have, at least 4 teams over 500 is that the AL West ends up being a powerhouse. And you have teams like Seattle and Houston just being dominant, and the Angels and Rangers figure some stuff out. If that doesn't happen, the AL East I think legitimately will have all 5 teams over 500. And, yes, you might not have 4 AL East teams in the playoffs. You might have one team that's 82 and 80, in other words, 84 and 78 or whatever, or 70 or 84 and 80 or 8. What's the number? Yeah, 80. No, 84 and 79. Or 70. I don't even know. Okay, my math's off, but you get the point.
Absolutely.
You get the point. There'll be teams that maybe they don't make the playoffs, but they'll still could have a winning record, like Baltimore last year. They had a winning record, but they didn't make the playoffs. I think there's a legitimate chance you'll see all 5 teams. I think that's a great place to wrap it up, though. Check out all the Bleacher Brawls links in the description, the Bleacher Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, plus all the crew's Twitter links will all be down there as well. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever we post. And yeah, that's a great place to end it. So for John, I'm Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls. We had a lot of great content planned for you in 2023, and we'll see you next time.